Hello, beautiful friends. My name is Tina from Quantum Healing with Tina. I'm a Beyond Quantum Healing practitioner, spirit releasement therapist, and intuitive empath, and most recently, a certified remote spirit release practitioner. And today we're here with Karen.
Hi guys, from Canada. I'm an intuitive starseed, energetic healer, BQH practitioner, channel and medium, and also recent, what is it again? Remote spirit release practitioner, facilitator, medium,
All of the above. Yeah. Yeah, and today we wanted to talk about remote spirit release, so what that is, how it works, and all that kind of stuff. So remote spirit release was, the protocol itself was created by a doctor from the UK, Dr. Terence Palmer, and he's a psychiatrist and a hypnotherapist. And he started noticing that clients with quote unquote mental illness sometimes had underlying spirit attachments that were contributing to that. So he, along with his medium Andy, and Andy's spirit guide Chen, developed this protocol over many years to help to check people, like give them a spiritual health check. And this is done remotely. So how it works is there's a facilitator, say me, and a medium, Karen. Karen connects with her spirit guide, Zen. And my spirit guide is Mary Magdalene, who also contributes to some of the work. She actually stepped forward to do this work because she did it a lot in her earthly life. It was one of her main abilities, that she could remove entities and spirit attachments. But Karen's more well-versed in the medium side of things because she's been practicing more and it's just more natural for her. So she mainly works on that side of the fence with her spirit guide Zen to do the actual clearing. So do you want to tell them like what we clear for, check for, and clear?
Sure. Yeah, so when we go in, really like as the role of medium, we need to stress that it's not me who's doing it. It is the spirit guide who does all the work, and I just report. However, when I'm in it, I also do have physical sensations. So that is another way for me in how to understand what's going on. Doesn't mean that I take it on myself, but it at least, because I know that once I verbally say it and we send the healing there, it stops for me. So that's the confirmation that it's working as well. So when we do the checks, we like to look at the, like well, what's it called? Like step back and look at the person in a, what do you call it? Like in a further perspective. So not like too up close. We're backing up to see like them in a broader scale, just to see like if there's anything in their field, like their outer field. And then
right. That's like waiting there for us to clear them, and then they'll just jump on.
Yeah. So we look out there, and then we cone in and see if there's any attachment. So we check their sovereignty, like meaning if there's anything attached to the person. So there's like 3 levels that we can find of dark force entities. And so we just say like if there's anything attached to them. Next step is to check the grounding of the person. Then we check the inner etheric to see, they say like if it has to be bright and clear. So we just like, to me, what it looks like, it's like a dome around the person. And so like when it's supposed to be bright and clear, that means that it's not infringed upon. So sometimes like I'll see like different, like it looks opaque, it looks dark. Certain places look, like different colors or whatever it is. So we clear that out. We also check for any devices and chips that may be attached to the inner etheric. Is that also where you check for cords and things like that?
Yeah, negative cords, curses, black magic spells, or any kind of occult ritual activity. And a lot of times it doesn't take an actual like witch doctor to curse someone. Like a curse can be someone
Just intention.
right, through intention and a lot of negative thoughts about you. Those thought forms can attach and kind of curse you in that way.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next up, we check all the chakras and also checking if there are any devices or implants on each chakra. We see if if they're spinning nicely and if there's any blockages or anything like that. After that, it's what's after that? The protocol.
Interdimensionals.
Yeah, interdimensional parasites. So those are like spirit bugs that could just be around the person. So that could be anything. I mean, like I've seen moths, flies, slugs, worms, ants, those
Yeah.
kind of things, like whatever bugs,
Yeah.
like literal bugs. What else is there?
And they're not anything like super dangerous or anything. There's like they really just drain your energy and clog up the field. The
Right.
DFEs are like the level 1, 2, and 3. They're the most dangerous.
Yeah.
And level 1 DFEs kind of just they're small and they're easy to remove, and they might influence thought like self-doubt, worry, fear, those kinds of things. Level 2s are a little bit bigger and harder to remove, and they require the assistance of higher dimensional beings like Archangel Michael or Jesus or Mary Magdalene that can assist in removing them. Sometimes they need to be taken to a protected sanctuary if they're particularly resistant. And then the level 3s are more insidious and they can be really super sneaky. I just wanted to read this little sentence about the level 3s. These are very strong and require the use of multiple high-level beings to remove them if necessary. Often they attach through traumas, creating portals and bring forth more connections. They can connect with cords and hooks, and they can place negative technology to remove grounding and ensure mind control. They use your energy to supplement their own needs. So they're draining you, right? They're draining your energy. Symptoms include hearing voices, feelings of deep depression, hopelessness, suicidal thoughts, and extreme anxiety, lack of sleep, and extreme lethargy. And they can also infringe upon your dreams and make it almost impossible for you to think positively.
Right.
Yeah. So, oh, we forgot grounding. So we checked grounding.
I said that.
Did you?
I just didn't talk too much about it. I just said we check it.
Yeah, well, the grounding, when that becomes unstable or disengaged, it can cause a number of issues that include like dizziness, feeling off balance, not fully present, kind of wobbly in the reality where you don't feel grounded, you don't feel like your feet are on the ground properly. So entities will infringe upon the grounding a lot because that's the easiest way to take you off balance, right?
I still feel like, for me personally, like when I get a health check, I don't know what that really fully like 100% feels like to be grounded, because I spent most of my life not like. So I mean, like, it does, like, I'm starting to get to know what it feels like to be in my body a lot more and understanding how that feels. So I mean, like, I know in time I'm going to understand that fully. But like when they always tell me I'm not grounded, and I'm like, all right. I guess I'm feeling it more because like sometimes when I'm experiencing stress or whatever the case is, yeah, like my legs start to get numb, my feet get numb. So that's another indication that I'm leaving my body. So I mean, like, those little indications for me.
Yeah, and that's caused by trauma, right? Because you're so not in your body from the trauma that your soul's like escaping, your spirit's escaping.
Exactly.
So it's not grounded in the body. And basically, that's what grounding means, that your soul is completely grounded in the body and present and not trying to escape.
Yeah.
So that's why it happens when you're under the
Attack.
stress. Yeah, or attack. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm usually pretty grounded. I'm like firmly planted on earth. I'm
Yeah,
the total
you're
opposite.
earthly.
Yeah. I'm very opposite of you. So then we check the
Portals.
portals. Yeah.
Yeah, we check portals on the person too. Checking their home as well, place of work, their car. Um, what we've noticed with the portals, I mean, portals, we could find them anywhere actually. We've seen them on different places on the body. We've seen them different places in the home as well.
What's been coming up a lot recently is like the keyhole on the front door. The
Yeah,
portal. Yeah. Just
sneaky,
yeah.
like you wouldn't think. But yeah, just like how my spirit guide does the scan, like I see what he's doing, so it's just kind of like okay, and I feel through it too, like so I know when there's something there. Um, yeah. Also, what's been coming up too, I think mirrors.
Mirrors. Yeah.
Mirrors. Yeah.
Devices are big for portals. Any kind of
Yeah.
device, TVs, laptops, tablets,
Yeah.
phones, all of those electronic kind of things. Even
Yeah.
appliances we've seen.
Yeah. The microwave or something. Like I don't
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And traumas on your actual being can be caused by trauma as well. That's why this is why trauma healing is so important, because it's really our trauma is really like the root of everything, whether that's spiritual, mental, emotional. And until those things are worked through and healed, this stuff is going to keep happening.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
so the guides always recommend to do some trauma healing, because these things are attracted to us through resonance, right? Through vibrational frequency, and that match. When you match to things, if you're having like feelings and thoughts of self-doubt and fear and worry, they're going to be attracted to that, and then what they're going to do is feed into those insecurities, feed
Yeah.
into those thoughts and emotions. And
Yeah.
that's
So you stop being present.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And then those thoughts go on a loop, and they get magnified much bigger than they are when these entities step in and start to influence. And you don't even realize that they're not your own thoughts. You think they're yours because you're thinking them, but
Right.
they
So they
might
have to
have, right, they might have been to begin with. Like you might have been having some feelings of self-doubt or fear, but then they get magnified and get caught in this loop, and you don't even realize that you're being influenced.
be. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's really interesting how that
Yeah.
works.
I think until you've done enough work on yourself and being like really self-aware that you can really know when you're being attacked or there's something on you. Not saying like everything is that, but at least you have the tools to, at least prevent it or stop it from further, going further and further, like where you just lost all control and they've all,
Right.
come everywhere and they're just there. So,
And that
yeah.
can and does happen, especially with people that are like deep in their suffering and having mental illness, that are
Mm-hmm.
diagnosed with schizophrenia and depression and all of these things. And that's why this protocol was developed to really give those people a clean slate, so they could start working to heal from that clean slate, instead of trying to um, heal with all of these infringements on you, which you just feel like you never get anywhere.
Yeah, it's never ending.
Right. And one of the feelings is like being held back or being pulled back every time you take a couple steps forward. Yeah. And people that hear voices, like people with schizophrenia and things like that, could possibly be infringed upon by these entities that are causing those voices. I mean, if you think about the people that do the mass shootings and things like that, most of the time they're always going to say, well, the devil told me to do it, or I was hearing voices, or things like that. And they could be entities, or they could be some kind of technology that's being used. There's a technology called the voice of God that the military has, that they use to target and infringe upon people, and then kind of have them do their dirty work for them, you know. So these people might think that the devil is talking to them, but it's really this technology that's being implanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting
Pretty
stuff.
crazy.
Scary. I
Pretty
mean, especially
crazy.
if you're not used to these things, like, and hearing things like that. But I mean, like, nothing's surprising anymore.
Right. Yeah. This is why sovereignty is so important. To have full and complete control over your own beingness is so important. You become not sovereign when an entity, like a dark force entity, attaches and then starts to play and influence you in ways that you're not aware of. So that's why our first check is for sovereignty. Like, are you in full and complete control? And you know, we get checks all the time. So we check each other, and we have a group of people that do this work. So we're lucky in that respect, but most people don't have that. Most people don't even know to check themselves for sovereignty. And you can do that yourself. You can just ask yourself, am I sovereign? Yes or no? And you will hear the answer. You have to ask 3 times to make sure you're getting an accurate answer. And then there are tools you can use to help clear yourself. Or if you just don't know how to do that or don't want to do that, you can always have a spiritual health check. We can assist you. So, yeah, I think sovereignty is coming up a lot recently. In the state of the world that we're in right now, and all of the manipulation and influence that's happening, or that people are becoming more aware of now, declaring your own sovereignty and not consenting to these manipulations is so huge and important right now. Yeah. So after portals, so we do. So we check
Earthbounds.
We check the whole house too for any portals, and we also check for any energies that may have come through those portals and clear all of that. So it's a full head to toe personal check plus your home as well, and car or workplace. And a lot of times what we see with the portals is just like these frequencies coming through, right? And kind of disrupting the energy in the home. Yeah.
It looks like to me, like when I see how, like, you know, like those pictures of the highways, like a still, and you just see the lights going like that. That's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Earthbounds.
Yeah, we check for Earthbound spirits. Sometimes what we notice, like with Earthbound spirits, a lot of the times they come to you or whoever attaches to somebody because of like a vibrational match.
Mm-hmm. Like they're just like lost souls kind of stuck here on the earth plane because they never went to the light after their death, whether that was from a trauma or they just wanted to stick around to comfort their family, which happens a lot, or they just had unfinished business. They will attach to humans who they feel that resonance with. For example, you know, an alcoholic will attract an alcoholic entity that will keep feeding into that addiction, or whatever kind of addiction it is. If someone is full of anger, they will attract an earthbound that is also full of anger, and they will keep that cycle going. They can also cause physical pain in the body, which happens frequently. Sometimes you can have family members that have passed on
Oh yeah,
stick
seen that
around
too.
and attach. Yeah.
Hmm.
Or they can be forced in to mess with your field by a dark force entity. So there are
Yes.
kind of like three different kinds of. I think it was in the hospital. We did someone's workplace at a hospital, and there
There was
was like,
tons, a lineup, like a huge lineup of Earthbounds. And I was just saying that too. I go, for me, I have a tendency to pick up an Earthbound from when I work at the hospital. So it hasn't been happening as often as it was before because I've been protecting myself a lot more and expanding my perimeter and putting on my invisibility cloak. So those have been happening a lot less. But the ones that have attached to me, like from the hospital, are usually because they know that I'm like their opportunity to go to the light.
yeah, that happens too. And like children will be attracted to people with like a motherly energy. So sometimes light workers will just be natural, have children naturally attracted to them.
That's you.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I was just gonna say something and I forget. Anyway,
I've had a couple of
so
old men. Sorry.
young men. So what we do is have like a loved one or an angel or whoever wants to step forward to take this soul back home to the light. And usually they go with no problems. They're usually just lost and they just don't know what they're doing anymore and they end up attached to a human. Just, yeah. So earthbound souls and then negative past life conscious. Oh, what I wanted to say about I think it was at that hospital or it was somewhere where there were dark forces like keeping all of these souls there. I don't remember what that was specifically, but there were dark force entities like controlling all these earthbound souls.
Yeah, just to keep them like imprisoned in the hospital.
Yeah, yeah. It's really sad when you think about it. So yeah, the negative past life contracts, which we're specifically looking for contracts with dark force entities. Like we all have contracts that we're playing out now, but when we do the clearing, we're looking for any kind of contract you could have made in a past life with the dark forces. That happens sometimes. So yeah, or
Good.
or if um, like there's a contract you've made with another human that's really not for
Not
your
serving.
highest good. Yeah.
Oh yeah, not for your highest good. Because sometimes that's not true. Because sometimes there are that don't feel amazing, but they are for your highest good. It's really for your soul growth to overcome it. So yeah,
Yeah, we make those
there's a
a lot.
difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Self-created
what's
thought forms.
self-created thought forms? So then we go into the psychological dimensions and we check for negative self-created thought forms. Like these are thought forms that have taken on their own consciousness. They've been thought so much that they've taken on their own form. And they stick around way past when they should.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you see when you see the self-created thought forms?
Usually the head area looks dark, and then when I open up the hood of the head, I see all these words come out, like it's all tumbling out. So I'm like, oh, okay. Yes, lots. Yeah. That's how
Yeah.
it shows it to me.
Yeah. And these can be any kind of negative thoughts that could be on that loop, like we talked about, like fear, self-doubt, worry, frustration, I'm not good enough is a big one. Things like that you get stuck in this cycle of thinking and they become their own entity and they can be influencing you, keeping that cycle going. So what we usually do is ask the higher self if these can be dissolved or replaced with positive thoughts. And usually that's what happens.
If they are chronic, you usually ask if we can rewire the brain.
Yeah. Yeah. To help rewire those neural pathways that have thought those thoughts so many times that they actually create a pathway in the brain. That is, it takes effort to overcome that. I mean, we've overcome thought patterns that we've had.
Still am.
Yeah, for years and years, and beliefs, they go along with your emotions and beliefs and all of these things that we think. So yeah, helping the higher self will usually help to rewire those neural pathways, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and then next, go ahead. Next
is it dissociative subpersonalities. So these are like aspects of the self that had split off, usually during a traumatic experience. Like in my first health check that I ever had, they caught me as a little baby, crying all the time and feeling unsafe all the way and I was like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it really depends. Like for me, like when I see, like when she asks how many or if there are any, I say ages. Or yeah, you could say ages, right? Like, I mean, I don't know if that's how the other mediums work. Kind of, yeah. But I see ages. So I see like all the numbers, and then the ones that are, the dissociative subpersonality. The number will pop out. So I just say the numbers that are popping out.
Yeah, we've also seen, I mean, you can have anywhere from 0 up to like 8 or 10 of these dissociated subpersonalities, depending on your trauma, because trauma is subjective. What's traumatic for you might not be traumatic for me, and vice versa. So, it's people can, and it's not just childhood that you create these dissociated subpersonalities. It goes way into adulthood up to your current age, depending on how traumatic these things were for you. And basically what it is like an aspect of yourself dissociates out of your body to hold this emotion for you when it's too much for the self to hold on its own. It's just too much. So this aspect, it's actually a really amazing coping mechanism that this aspect will split off and hold this so that you can kind of keep going, keep functioning, even with all that trauma. We've all been traumatized. Like, we are all traumatized. This planet is just traumatizing. It is.
Yeah.
It really is. And it feels unsafe. No one feels safe. Everyone's traumatized. Everyone's working from their trauma. That's how we ended up here. So healing that, and what we usually do is ask the higher self. First, what we've also seen that's really interesting is subpersonalities from other lives.
Oh yeah, parallel lives.
Parallel lives that are also influencing this one. So that's really interesting. And so we usually send them healing and ask the higher self if they're ready to be reintegrated. But first we scan them, or the higher self scans them for any attachments, because each one that splits off can also have attachments. Yeah. And we found someone that was sovereign when we did the first sovereignty scan, but then on inspection of their subpersonalities, there were attachments there, darker sensitive attachments, manipulating.
Sneaky,
yeah. And then once they're reintegrated, unless you create more, then that should be okay. But it still requires trauma healing. It still requires you to look at all that stuff. Just because they're
Yeah.
reintegrated doesn't mean it goes away. It just means they're not separate aspects anymore, that they're all reintegrated into the whole. So really, trauma healing is the preventative measure for not having entities,
Yes.
attachments. Yeah, and knowing how it works and knowing how to protect yourself as well. What do you say? We've learned so much in the past year, like doing this. It's crazy.
I know. I
Yeah.
mean, I just remember going to the first class. I remember when Tina like introduced it to me, or she just talked about it, and I'm like, yeah, okay, let's do it. You know, like tell me whatever. Like I didn't even know what she was talking about. I was just like, yeah, sure, you know, something to do together.
Yeah.
But it ended up being like really, really interesting in just exploring the, you know, something so quick and but can be very brief to very in depth. And we've seen a lot of positive results from yeah, a lot of people that we've done.
Yeah.
And age ranging from
Children.
even pets we've done.
Yeah.
Pets, children, and beyond.
Yeah. And it's really great for the elderly too,
Mm-hmm.
because they can get
Yes.
attachments that are influencing their health specifically.
And we do think it's really important if like families get them, you know, if you have, you know, children and, you know, you might as well go all in and just do the family thing. Like we have special rates for families, you know, and
Yeah.
it's really good. I mean, like, because if you have someone in the household that has like all these entities, I mean, that doesn't mean that everybody else is okay. You know, these things can jump, and then you know they see someone who's like spiritually healthy, and then they're just like, okay, let's go back and
Yeah.
might as well clear out the whole thing.
Right. Just get everyone in the household clear, and then you have a clean slate where you can start building upon that, doing your healing, protecting yourself every day, having everyone in the house cleared. It makes such a huge difference. And you think children wouldn't have as many entities, but they can, and they do.
Oh, yeah.
One of our worst in the sense that I guess most negative influence and infringement we saw was with a 13-year-old child. So it can and does happen. We've seen it as young as like 4 or 5.
Yeah, they have things attached, and usually these are because they're very bright lights. You know, these are mostly crystal children, rainbow children. So of course they're here for a specific purpose. You know, especially with the ascension going on. So of course these dark forces don't want to be, you know,
And
getting rid of. So they're going to attach to the future. You know, like they're supposed to harness that light in.
Yeah. What I've seen in one of my BQH sessions was that these dark force I forget where, I don't remember where it was from. It was that definitely came up in a BQH session where these dark forces were trying to prevent these babies from coming in. And they influenced the mother's labor, and they influenced the physical health of the child, trying to prevent the baby from coming through. She had the cord wrapped around her neck twice. And a lot of times this is what happens with these children, that they really are trying to prevent from coming in because their light is so bright.
Right.
Yeah. And that one, I think she took like 4 days to come out of the womb because she was afraid to come out.
I bet.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, they start in the womb. It's pretty crazy. And they will even try to intercept souls that are coming down, which we saw with my brother.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's how we began all this, right?
That's how we began all this, because my brother, I got a call from my other brother, my youngest brother, and he's like, Tina, something is really wrong. My other brother is talking about, he thinks he's being attacked by entities or whatever he called them. I don't remember the words he used. But I believed him, wholeheartedly believed him that he was not lying. I mean, he had a history of anxiety and depression,
Psychosis.
addiction, what we thought at the time was psychosis. Looking back, he was definitely being influenced, or his higher self was trying to get through to him that he needed to wake up. It didn't work that time, but this time it did. So
I thought he was having a Kundalini awakening.
Yeah. Well, that's what I told him. So he would focus more on the positive. But I knew he was being influenced, and he swore these things were going to kill him. It was just like he thought he was going to die any day because it was so aggressive. And I felt helpless. I didn't know how to help him. And he was afraid of hypnosis, of looking at the entities with hypnosis. He had some fear around that. So that wasn't an option. And I didn't know what else to do for him. I was like, go to a church or something. Like, I don't know. So then I started to be guided to things. I was guided to Xanther, who did these checks and cleared him. I was then guided directly to Dr. Palmer. I was just fascinated by his work because it was so comprehensive and something that no one else is doing. And I thought, well, this could give me the tools to be able to help people that are being.
Yeah, I remember when we tried it on our own. It was like we had like plastic gloves on. We're just like, okay, let's go with our spatula. I think that's why he does it now. My spirit guide dresses up in like kitchenware. And he has like a spatula. I think he was making fun of us.
Oh, probably. Full circle.
Yeah, 360.
Yeah, so I felt helpless, and I really was asking for a way to be able to help him. And that's when I was guided to these things. And it was just this amazing synchronicity of things that were showing up for me. And when I started watching Dr. Palmer's videos, I was like, this could really help people that are struggling. So yeah, so that's why I wanted to sit in on his classes and learn the method, really. And my brother had a health check done by other practitioners that were certified at the time. And, he's like a completely different person now. He's,
oh, yeah.
Never in a million years would I have thought he would have woken up. And he's wide awake and healing.
So awake.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And after he listened to that recording, he said, this is the first time in my life I feel understood. And I think that is so important for people because, you have underlying things, thoughts, emotions, beliefs going on all the time that you don't tell anyone. And then when someone comes forward and validates those things for you, it's so empowering,
Yes.
to know that you're not crazy, to know that these things are real, to know that your feelings are valid and you have the capability to change it and heal it. Like, it's really amazing. And that's what these sessions do for people, to feel understood. We've had really great feedback from people who have, it's like the whole gamut from just feeling lighter to like their whole life changes, knowing these things. So yeah, it's an amazing tool. And I wanted to read an excerpt from Dr. Palmer's book. It's called The Science of Spirit Possession. And you can get this on his website. I think it's remotespiриtrelease.org. I'm not positive.
We'll link it down below.
Yeah. But it's all the science behind this stuff. Like, it's really like science and spirituality are starting at the very beginning stages of merging and validating one another, because all spirituality is or the study of consciousness, it's science without the proof yet. You know, it is scientific. There is no other way around it. So what he says is the purpose of this book: for those patients whose distress is ameliorated by the art and skill of the spirit release practitioner, this book will be confirmation that the experience of spirit influence on one's health is a reality and is not to be consigned to the unsatisfactory explanation that it's all in the mind. Likewise, the medical practitioner, psychologist, psychiatrist, or any other professional whose intention it is to heal the sick can take comfort in the evidence presented here that one does not have to pretend or act as if what the patient experiences is real. Here is a scientific framework that can accommodate experiences ranging from spirit possession to almost imperceptible subtle influences as scientifically validated phenomena.
Amazing. I love Dr. Palmer.
I know. I really love him. He's like a spiritual rebel. I love the rebels. You know? I really love it. I mean, his whole goal is to get this out into the mainstream and to have it be accepted by scientists so that medical professionals, psychiatrists, psychologists, doctors can start using this for their clients. And
instead of going straight into medicine, like traditional medicine.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even someone commented the other day that, you know, through their BQH and spirit release session, they bypass all of that need for psychology and all that stuff. And it really does. It gets to the root of the problem. So you're not just covering up the symptoms all the time. That's right. All they do is cover up the symptoms. So, yeah, the science of spirit possession is real.
We totally recommend these sessions before, if you are to do a hypnosis, like BQH session.
Yes.
Yes. It clears out just all the extra stuff so that you don't have to waste your time being in a session and just talking to an entity. We can get rid of all of that and go in so that we can go deeper in and really go to the root.
Yeah. Having this done before your session will help you go deeper because you're removing all of this energetic influence and able to connect more easily with yourself, your higher self, your inner wisdom, because there's no blockages in the way. All your chakras are cleared, you're grounded, there's no influence. So yeah, it's really beneficial to have before a session. And I think we're actually going to start integrating it as like mandatory soon.
Yeah, I think it should be mandatory.
Yeah.
Everyone should have it. I mean, I don't see why not.
Right. Yeah, because it really gives you a clean slate energetically.
Yeah.
And then you can dive in and do the healing parts to prevent these things from attaching, because they're attaching because there's something within you that is vibrating to meet them. That's why it's nothing to be scared of, but understand that whatever vibration you're holding will attract these things. And it's just there to show you what you need to heal. It's nothing to be afraid of. There's no fear. When we realize that we're divine sovereign beings of the light that don't need to be afraid of any kind of entity or spirit attachment. And I think that's one of the reasons why Dolores never talked about it, because I know she had to come in contact with entities. I think one of the reasons why she didn't, and it's understandable, was because she didn't want to scare anyone. Like the whole religious ideas of devils and demons and these things.
Everybody has their own perspective of it. Right. I definitely did. I remember when we started doing all this, like, part of me was like, yeah, okay, let's go. Until I saw a demon. And then I had to tell Tina, I go, can you stop the recording, please? Because I couldn't continue for that. I knew we were going to continue, but I'm like, let me just have my fear right now for a second. Because that Catholic play button was like, going like, okay, you're scared. You have to be scared. So then I had my moment and then brought out the light and then made sure I was protected and everything. And I mean, and just seeing how this dark force was just interacting with me, it was toying with me. Because Tina and I protect ourselves very much so. Like we create the biggest thing you could think of, like thick, when you think it's more, that there's more. So I mean, like I just could see it because I watch it from where I'm standing in the protective barrier, and my guides out there, like with the angels and whatnot, doing what they have to do. But it was just the way that it looked at me and how it shot fire. Like it was, and then the fire stopped at where the barrier was, and I was like, okay, like they're for real. But thank God we have protection. And it's not me who's doing the work. It's really my guide who's doing it. So, but they do toy with you that way, like these high-level dark force entities. So anyway, so yeah, the Catholic mind just went going from that place of fear. And then after that, now it's just like, we're good.
We're good.
We're good. Yeah.
They can't defeat the light because they're just so empty. And when you're filled with the light of God, there's nothing that can penetrate that. Nothing. So all of the religious fear that they indoctrinate into people is useless, and they've done it for a reason, to manipulate you. Yeah. They don't want you to look at that. They don't want you to understand your power. They want you to feel like you're powerless against these things. And this is a spiritual war right now, and the last thing we need to be is powerless. What we need to do is step fully into our power as sovereign divine beings of light. Step fully into that. And that means keep doing that until the fear dissipates. Because these things are nothing to be afraid of. Like Karen said, she had fear going into this, but she kept going. And that's what makes you brave, because you kept going despite the fear, and knowing eventually you would get to a place where you weren't afraid anymore. And that's the beauty of facing our fears. When we don't face them.
I've done that a lot.
When we don't face them, they just hide in the dark, and they fester and they grow and they get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it becomes this big giant monster. And then you don't know what to do with it. Then you're overtaken by that fear. But if you face it head on and go through it a little bit at a time, each time, just facing it over and over and over, it just fades away. And then it's gone.
Yeah. So after that, seeing that I was protected and I had nothing to worry about, and Tina's there to like, it's okay. We're fine. It's like, okay, press record, and we continued. But yeah, it was that was also really crazy, because that entity tried a lot of things on me, even tried to get me psychologically, because what it did also was that it shot an image into my mind of my children. So It's like it knows exactly what it's going to do to manipulate you and just to keep you in that state of fear. But I was like, oh, hell no. Now you crossed the fucking line.
Mama Bear came out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes we need that fire to fuel us.
Yeah. Played the wrong card with me.
Right. Yeah. So I was just going to say something and then I forget.
Sorry, I do that to you a lot.
Um,
Please like and subscribe while she's like thinking about what she was doing. Comment down below. I don't know if you've had a spiritual health check or if you're interested in it, but please, comment or let us know if you're interested. We would love to do it for you because we feel everybody should do it. Should get one done at least, like she said, to clear you out, start from scratch. And then you have the sole like responsibility now. You can't blame it on anything else. Maybe I shouldn't say that because a lot of people like to blame things. But now's the opportunity, like for people who really want to heal themselves, great opportunity to start from this point zero.
yeah. Yeah. I still can't remember.
Please hit the bell to
Yes.
get notifications for future fun stuff. We are like the all-around gal shop is starting to come together.
All around gals, yeah. Oh, when? So when to have a check? Well, everybody should have one at least once. If you have one, like Karen said, then it's your responsibility to keep yourself protected, make sure your vibrations as high as it can be. Of course, we're going to fluctuate as humans. We can't maintain a super high vibration 24 hours a day. It's just not possible. We're meant to feel all of the emotions and move through them. But make sure we're protected when we're doing that so that we don't get sucked down and influenced, because they really, especially for light workers, they're making any attempts to get in. So if there's a tiny little crack in your field, they're
going in.
waiting. Yeah. And it happens to us, like.
Oh, good. Yeah. It doesn't happen to us. It happens to us a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. A lot of things can just happen in your day. Even if you wake up with the intention of like, okay, my light's bright, I'm protecting myself, I'm sovereign. Something could just happen where, like let's say you're just like a snow globe and a very thick snow globe, and then you drop it on the floor, you get a little crack. You're still like, the water's not coming through, but still a crack,
Yeah.
So until you put, like you recheck yourself to, like I know now for myself when I may be potentially infringed upon. Yeah. I know. I feel it.
Yeah. Well, you start to learn, like when you start practicing, you start to learn the difference between your energy and when something's coming in. You start feeling that irritation and frustration and all of these things that start to come up, and catching that right away, like allows you to be like, all right, this isn't mine. What's happening here? Maybe there's somebody check me, like, or you can do your own checks. But like our first spiritual health checks we do for people are very involved and on the longer side. But if you have that first clearing and need another one down the line, it's like half the price and it's like a quicker check because we don't have to go in depth and do all that deep work of like the sub-personalities and stuff like that. So you can get checkups along the way. But also part of this process is you learning how to do that for yourself. And then always, of course, we're interdependent, right? So always leaning on other people when you need help and not being afraid to ask for it is really important. Or not being ashamed that, oh my God, I'm supposed to be a spiritual person and I have an attachment. Like, what's wrong with me?
There's nothing wrong with you.
It happens.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just the world we live in. So, yeah, and if anyone out there is having like physical, like chronic illness type symptoms, this is really good for that too. Just to make sure there's nothing
Adding to it.
adding to those symptoms, because they will work in that way too. Yeah. Anything else?
I don't think so. I think we're slowly starting to put this information on our website. So I think for now we have like two categories. It is like the longer version, like the very in-depth, could be up to an hour long. So what we do it on our own time. We try as much as possible to deliver it within like a good amount of time, like what, maximum 10 business days. So we'll do the recording and then we send it to you, and we like feedback. So far we've had really good feedback from majority. I would say like what, 98% of our clients have given us really good feedback. And again, if you need like a tune-up later on down the line, like you're just not feeling well, we offer that as well, where, like Tina said, not so in depth, but enough, like a good enough check to see. We're going to take the time to look.
Yeah.
So we'll give you more information. At least this video is going to be out, and then we're going to
post sessions. I want to post sessions.
Oh yeah, those are really fun. At least you'll see how it works,
Yeah, you'll
like
see
how the
how it
protocol works.
You don't have to be there at all. That's the best thing about it. You don't have to be there at all.
It's
You
not
don't have to do anything.
Are you just going to share audio or the actual video? Because I don't know if people want to see that.
I don't know. We'll see.
See me mediuming. God.
Yeah. Don't be scared.
Yeah, jump through that fear, Karen.
Yeah, that'll be fun so people can see how it works. It's really interesting. Like, I loved watching Dr. Palmer's videos. You guys should check him out too. Terence Palmer. He's amazing. The Science of Spirit Possession. He has a couple other books too. Anything else?
No, I think we're good. If anyone has any questions, please comment down below, and we'll be happy to answer them.
Yes, we love your comments. We love to hear from you guys. So, yes, please leave us a comment. And subscribe. Please subscribe to our channel.
Yes, and check out our website. There's always different changes. Maybe we will offer like a special offer. It's coming.
It's coming.
Coming. Twin flame activation. It's coming.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
No. Okay. We love y'all.
We love you. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.